Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be showing you some information about how to use Helping Lost Pets to match up lost and found pets. And we're going to start you off first. We're going to go through just a little bit of basics of how the map works. And then we're going to talk about specifically searching for cats, searching for dogs. Both cats and dogs have very unique behaviors when they go missing. They're not the same, so there is some different techniques involved. And then we're going to do a few searches ourselves today and see if we can match up any pets. Now, one of the things before we get started is um, let's look at the layout of the particular screen here. And I'm just going to move my map around here a bit so we don't have any pets on the screen. But basically, when you come into the website, you should see it will be positioned roughly where you are located. If it's not, then you can always reposition it. And you can even save your position on the map if you like, so that next time you come in, it's in the right spot. And a couple of key bits of information about how the screen is laid out. This part on the left, we call that your filter dialog box. And in here, there's basically three sections. One where you select the type of pet you want to search for and whether you're searching for lost. Down on the bottom, you can do searches for organizations. And up at the top is where we do an advanced search. So if I open up that part of the screen here, you can see that you can search for things like color and gender and breed and size. And we're going to go through those in a little bit today. But we're going to start off with just a very basic search. I always find that's the best way to start off. This section in the middle is your map. Now, location is a very, very vital piece of information when a pet goes missing, because generally they're going to be in that area at least for the first short little while. For cats, they tend to stay in the area where they went missing all the time. And indoor cats, their general behavior is to hide. So they will find a hiding place as close as they can to where they escaped. And they may stay there for up to 8 days without food and water, I'm told. And so, searching for indoor cats, again, hiding spot close to escape area. Outdoor cats, well, they tend to have an area where they roam if they do go outdoors. And if they don't come home, it usually means they're trapped somewhere, maybe in someone's shed or garage, or perhaps they've been injured and they can't make it back home. Dogs, on the other hand, depending upon the particular type of breed of dog, they may go missing right away. They may run for miles and miles. For example, a husky type of dog might run. A smaller type dog might stay close to a particular area and things like that. Now, I'm very pleased that we have Kathy from Lost Dogs Wisconsin with us today. She's a founder. And, Kathy has a lot of experience in finding pets. Now, I don't consider myself an expert in the area of finding pets. I do know a fair bit, but Kathy's a real expert. And Kathy, can you give us any tips about, physically searching for your dog or things like that?
Yes, thanks, Rob, and I'm really pleased to be here. So one of the first things that I would suggest that if you are helping somebody that has lost their dog, that the first question that you ask them is, how did your dog go missing? Not to pass judgment on them for perhaps how their dog got away, but that is a real key factor in knowing where to look. So dogs that are lost from stressful situations, perhaps from fireworks or a car backfiring, or perhaps they went missing from a vet clinic or a boarding kennel or something like that. Those are all considered stressful situations, and those dogs tend to stay very, very close. Dogs, the other category is opportunistic. So those are dogs that were just out having a good time and they maybe caught the scent of a squirrel or, were just sniffing and got a little bit further away than they intended to get. Those dogs are the ones that really tend to travel. So if you can kind of think of the what the mental situation was for that dog when it went missing. Was it scared or was it having a good time? That can really give you some indications on how far you need to look.
Very good, Kathy. Thank you for that information. That's really helpful. And, in terms of what we're trying to do with the Matchmaker group, we're trying to virtually search for pets. And so sometimes knowing behaviors of particular breeds or species does really help in where you actually might want to look. So we'll hopefully get into that a little bit. So as I mentioned earlier, the location is so key, and that's why having the map makes such a big difference. And I think in terms of those scared dogs, as Kathy was mentioning, or cats, having that map so you can look right in that area is very key. On the right side of the screen here, we call this your pet list. And as you can see, you can scroll it and there's photos in there and different information. And that particular part of the screen, you can change it around depending on whether you're searching for lost and found and etc. And I'll be getting into that in a moment. Now, a couple of really key things about the map is, and how the main page works, is when you're trying to go to a particular area, then you would, I can type in, say, a zip code here, for example, and then I can hit go. But anytime you hit go, it simply takes you to that location on the map. It doesn't refresh your pet list. It doesn't change your filter. And so anytime you move your map around, or you make it bigger, you make it smaller, you must remember to always click your search button after you move your map around or after you've changed your parameters. All right. Now, if you forget any information like that, don't worry. It's right here under help. You can just click on that little button there and it will pop up a screen, and I'll let you read this later, but basically it just gives you the quick information about how to use the site to do a search. So there's 3 different criteria you need to decide on. First of all, where do you want to search? And the second one is, let's go up to Wisconsin here. And as you notice, I can move the map either by my buttons up here. I can zoom in or zoom out, depending on which of these buttons I press, or I can simply drag my map around however I want to position it. So let's go to Wisconsin today, and let's say I want to search for dogs, and let's say I want to search for lost dogs. I'll just turn those 2 parameters on. So I've got my location where I want it to be. I've got dogs. I've got lost. I click the search button. Now, once I've determined what I want to search for, I can start to hide some things on my screen. And that's what I'm going to show you right now. So first of all, let's hide our menu because I don't really need that. So I've gained a little bit more screen real estate, and I can hide my map if I want by clicking there. And now I can work with a bigger list if I want, or I like to leave my map on the screen and I like to hide my filter. But before I hide my filter, I'm going to also look at founds on the screen at the same time. So click on founds, and then I'm going to hit search. Now, I find, for the purposes of what we're going to use Matchmakers for in the initial stages, today I'm going to show you how to use it to match lost and found listings that are actually on our website. But I do want you to remember that we don't have every single pet listing. Not everybody knows about us yet. So you can't assume just because you see a lost listing or a found listing that that's all, you have them all, and it may not be true. So, I encourage you to use other shelter websites, Craigslist, whatever you feel is, used in the area where you're doing your searches, feel free to use it to match up. Our goal is to get every single lost and found listing on the website, but until we do, you have to remember that they're just not going to all be there. We're going to go and look over in the border area between Minnesota Minnesota and Wisconsin, and you'll see, boy, is there ever a lot of listings there. And we're going to look right now at, I'm going to do a search again so that we now are narrowing our list down to just this area. Now, you'll notice that you've got two pet lists on the right side now. And one is all of your lost and founds. Sorry, one is all your lost or back homes if you put your back home filter on. And the other list on the right is your founds, or once the new release goes in, the sightings as well. Okay, and both lists you can scroll independently. Now, date is another really key factor in matching up your pets, but you can't always be 100% sure that the date has even been entered into the system correctly. So if you see two pets that seem to match and you go through all their different criteria and you still think it's a match, don't hesitate to send that information along to the owner, because sometimes it may have just been a date error. So here we've got our first particular pet here. Now I'm going to go over here and hide my filter. I don't need that anymore right now. That's going to give me a bigger view. And if you're trying to do this on an iPad or even on a phone, you're probably going to also want to hide your map at this point, because you just don't have as much screen real estate as we do on a computer screen. All right, so let's start off at the very top here. We've got a spaniel type dog that's been found on October 22nd, so that's just only yesterday. And our first lost is October 22nd. So this dog here could potentially be a match for any of the dogs in this list. Now, you'll notice here that we're searching in a very, very broad area here. In fact, if you look at the scale, that's at 10 miles there. You're probably looking at maybe 30 to 40 mile radius. That's an awfully big radius. And so if you're searching for, I kind of like to do a quick scan in that area anyway, depending on how many dogs are there, and just see, what kind of dogs have been lost and what kind of dogs have been found. Now you'll see that as I scroll through the list here, it's very easy for me to very quickly identify that there's no other dogs lost in that area that are matching that particular dog. I was able to do that in seconds. And if I wanted to broaden my area, then I could search that as well. Or if I wanted to narrow my area, I could also do that. But I do want to point out one thing, is that when you're looking at the map, our default selection is to only show you pets that have been listed as lost or found, or have been confirmed as lost or found within the last 30 days. And that's what this particular parameter does here. If I want to open that up and go less than 60 days or 14 days or even 7 days, or look at every single listing, I can do that. But the theory is that most people, if their pet's missing, they will keep their listing up to date. Now, we can't always guarantee that, because we do know that pets do come home and people don't update them for weeks and weeks, which is one of the reasons why we don't show you everything as default. Okay, now let's go down to the next one. So there's a lab, black lab. Let's quickly do a search of the list. Do we see any black labs? Well, coincidentally, there's one right there. Okay, now, a couple of other things to start to look at in terms of, are these a match? So the first thing I tend to look at is the gender. Now, this one here's matched as a female. This one's a male. Now, I'm going to say in a short-haired dog like a lab, it's usually very easy to determine gender for someone, especially if there's someone who knows dogs, then you can be fairly certain that that is going to be correct. But you can never really assume always that the gender is going to be correct. And in fact, lots of times people will find a pet and they may not know what the gender is at all. So, always just kind of take the gender with a bit of a grain of salt. It may not be exactly true. Next thing is, when was this guy lost and when was this guy found? Well, there you go, right there. This one was found before this one was reported lost. So probably not going to be this dog. And then if I look on the little markers here, where was this dog lost? Well, over here in Minnesota still. And this one here, click on the little red button there, and you can see there's quite a difference between the two. So when I'm doing a match, I like to try to look at things that rule out that it's not a match, rather than trying to find everything that says it's a match. In this case, I don't think this one's a match at all. All right, let's keep going down the list here. Oh, this one's interesting. What do we got here? A little Italian Greyhound here, little lab pup. And I'm not really seeing any other matches. Now, when you start to get into other particular types of breeds and dogs, so here's a little Yorkie, for example. Now, a lot of different people know what Yorkies are, but, you know, there's a couple of different kinds of terriers that are all, you know, the smaller terriers, you know, Australian Terrier, etc. And let's do a breed search now. I want to show you how that works. So as long as I put in part of a word of a particular breed, so for example, you'll see that the Yorkshire Terrier here has the word terrier in their breed name. There's also other types of terriers. So this guy here is just labeled as a terrier. And you've got to remember, though, there's other types of breeds that have terriers. So, for example, a pit bull terrier. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm also going to say I want to search for, I don't want to search for extra large dogs. I don't want to search for large dogs or medium. I'm just going to search for small dogs. Now, let's have a look at what that does to our search. So remember, every time you change your parameters, you have to research. And you'll see, wow, did it ever bring the size down. Now, these green dots here, those are the old way that we used to show sightings. And we had a tab up here called sightings, and that's where I could go to see all the sighting information. That will be actually replaced very shortly with the new way to search for sightings, which is down here as an actual search parameter. So you'll be able to turn sightings off and on now, which you couldn't do before. So now we're looking at all dogs here that are part of the terrier breed. And now you can see our list is much, much smaller and much, much faster to go to scan through. So there's a little Jack Russell. Do we see any Jack Russells over here? Well, interestingly enough, that one there looks like a bit of a Jack Russell to me. And this one over here looks like it could be a match. And you can see right away from your photos how much more difficult it is when we don't have the same type of shot. But in this case, what I can do is, if I want to get a larger photo of each, just click on the photo. And that will bring up a larger photo window for me. Now, depending on which browser you're using and which operating system, on my particular computer here, it's opened them up in multiple windows. And if I know how to manipulate my windows down here, I can see how easy that is to look at them both on the screen at the same time. Now, I can see some brown over here on this dog. That's the left side of this dog. Over here, I can't see the left side of this dog, but I can see from the body of this dog, he's pretty white on this side. How about ears? Well, the same kind of ears, right? But look at this on the tail. I can just see on the white tip tail and not a fully white tail. Not like this guy here, looks like he probably has a white tail. Look at the paw here in the front. I'm not sure whether that's just a long nail or a little bit of brown fur there. It's hard to tell. But the one thing that I can really see off the bat here is on the head here. So see how the brown comes around and appears to wrap around the eye like that? Whereas this dog here has absolutely no brown on his head at all. Okay, so again, I try to look for things that rule out the dog. And, I want to take you through all the different parts of the dog that I tend to look at, which is body, tail, paws, eyes, nose, and ears, and of course, any special markings in color. those are things that are really good indicators. So I don't think we have a match there at all. Okay, so that's generally, taking you through how to do matches with dogs. And, remember that depending on the size of the area you're looking at, you can look for smaller dogs or bigger dogs or all kinds of dogs. The site's, again, not used everywhere, so you have to always take that into account. All right, let's reset our filter, which means we're going back to the default settings. I'm going to close that up because you might want to ask, well, where is a good place to actually do some matching? And what should I match? Well, it's totally up to you. You can search in your area if you want. You can search for birds. You can search for cats, dogs. It's really your choice. When you do find a match, I'm going to show you here in just a minute how you can contact someone if you think that might be their pet. But for the time being, pick and choose wherever you'd like to search. But a good way to find out where to look for is, initially I had said if you start off with a found pet, then, it's sometimes a little bit easier to match it with the lost. Now, one thing you should know about pets getting back home is that oftentimes what determines whether you will find your pet is what the person who has found your pet does. So if the person who finds your pet decides that they're going to take the pet into their veterinarian to get them scanned for a microchip, if they put up flyers, if they actively post on other sites, if they notify the shelter that they found a pet, all of those things are going to help you to find your pet. If they don't do any of those things, then it's going to be much harder. But one thing that I have found is that finders are going to be a lot less motivated to find you. So you have to really make sure that you get your information out. But that's where having a common website where every single lost and found pet is listed makes so much sense, because that way, if someone is trying to find you, they can look in one place and they don't have to look everywhere. But always remember that, I've had people look at the website in a particular area and say, well, I don't see any pets in that area, so why should I bother to list on the website? Well, what I say to them is, you just never know when someone's going to find a pet and look on the website. And if the lost listing's not there, then they're not going to be able to find you. And I think that if you look at the website in terms of, here's a full-blown view of all the found listings that we have, and the founds are the blues, then you can see that we are fairly well known in many areas of the country. For example, up here in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Texas, Arizona, lots of different areas. We're very popular. Shelters use our website as well. But in terms of trying to match in lost and found, you can see that going to Kansas right now probably wouldn't help you to match up any lost and founds because we don't have any founds there. Okay, so we did a search for dogs. Let's look at cats. I'm going to turn the dog filter off now. Remember, every time I change a filter, I'm going to click that green search button again. Let's see where we have cat found listings. Now, another thing that I've noticed over time is that people that see a cat outside or have found a cat, they're less likely to take them to the vet to go get scanned for a microchip or something. If they see them outside, because oftentimes they might just think they're a neighborhood cat that someone a block over has let their cat out and they're just out for a stroll. That may be the case, may not be the case. But for dogs, people are less likely to do that. So that's why we tend to have a lot more found dog listings than we do for cats. But you can see here, this particular found listing is with a shelter. And this cat right now has been found. He's at the City of Toronto Animal Services West region. So let's zoom into that part of the map, and we'll look there to see if we can match up any lost and found cats today. So I'm going to an area on the map where we have a good number of found cats. And I'm going to now turn on my lost cats, and let's see what we see. Just give the website there a moment to load up the listings. And there you go. Now, that's a pretty big area. Toronto's down here, and we're going all the way up to, probably about 30 miles there. And of course, unless a cat has been transported, they're less likely to be up there. But again, you just never know. Again, it depends on the finder. Sometimes they'll pick up a cat and say in Toronto, which is here, and they might live in Mississauga, and they might take that cat to the shelter in Mississauga. So you can never really be 100% sure. But again, cat behavior is, many of them will be close to home. So I'm going to zoom in to an area where there are a few found cats and look in just that smaller area. So that's what I've done. I zoomed the map in, and you'll see every time you do a search, there's a circle that comes up on the screen, and that's the actual area that it's done the search for. Now that's still a very big area for cats. You might find that a cat here may have traveled up there, but it's kind of a little bit unlikely. Oh, here we have a double listing here. Or is that two different cats? It looks like, I'm not sure, certainly the same photo anyway. Let's go back up here to the top. All right, so we have a black cat listed at the very top of our list, lost on October 19th. Where was he lost from? Right over here. And we have this tabby brown cat here that's been found on October 22nd. So let's scan down our lost list. See if we see any possibilities. Okay, right away, there's one that jumps out at me. Same type of cat. Same kind of facial features. Let's look at first, where was this guy found? Okay, so he's over here. That can sometimes be the shelter location as well. So you got to kind of watch that a little bit. And this guy here was found fairly close. Let's match up our dates. Lost October 9th, found October 22nd, so certainly it could be a match there. And let's bring our photos up larger. Now, we only really have a facial shot of this guy here. And this one over here. Now, the eye coloring is certainly different, but oftentimes that can be the lighting as well. I like to focus on the markings on cats. They all tend to have unique markings on their forehead. And I can see from what I'm seeing here, we've got a really good clear shot of the left eye here. And here we've got a pretty good shot. And you can see here that really sharp black line running up there. But then I can see the little bit of white line there. I just don't know from this photo whether this could be the same cat or not. I always want to err on the side of caution and say that this could be their cat. And really the only way to know for 100% sure is they really should go to the shelter and check. So I'm going to send this person a message and just say, hey, could this be your cat? Now, one thing you have to remember is that when you're searching, if you want to contact someone, you must be logged in to do that. And I'm going to show you today, because sometimes I forget to log in before I start my search. I'm going to show you today how to get around that problem, because you don't have to go and redo your search and everything. So let's say that I want to send the family, the person with the lost cat, information about the found cat. So the first thing I have to do is capture the link. Now, if you hover over top of your icons here, you'll see that one gives you more photos, one gives you a detail page, one lets you contact, one lets you create a flyer. It's this detail page here that I want to pop up. Once I've popped that up, I want to grab this special link here for sharing. And if I just click on that share button and then click on the link itself and then right click and then copy, now I can close that window. Now I can do the same thing for the lost pet, is I can click on the little detail box and up pops information about the cat. Now I can post a message down here if I like, or I can also just send a message directly to the person, which I'm going to do in this case. Now here you see how it says here, please log in. Well, now at least I can log in. It's already got my login information in there. I'll just click in. And now I'm logged in, so I can click this button. And I just want to say the lighting may be different in the photos, so it's hard to tell. But could this be, and if you look at the listing here, you actually have the cat's name, which I always like to get, and in this case I forgot to grab it. So I'm just going to say here, I'm going to paste my link in there by just right-clicking and then hitting paste, and then be your cat, because I missed the name there. Oh, actually, I guess I can go back here and get the name. That is that Anderson Cooper? Might have to scroll across here. Just Anderson. And I can even copy the name here and paste. Now, most people really do appreciate getting a message, even if it really isn't their cat, because, you know, it gives them some comfort knowing that at least someone's trying to help them to search for their cat. And of course, you know, you don't want to send someone a message if it's not their cat for sure. And, you know, in the early days as you're learning to do this, sometimes that might happen. But I think it's always better to err on the side of caution than it is to not do that. So at least we can see that. Let's continue on through the area and see if we see any. Now, there's another one right there. Another potential match for that cat. Let's see if that one's even closer. Now, this one here I can see is less likely, more, you can see the brown around the eyes there, the very different type of markings. Boy, I don't know. But I also noticed the fur here under the chin. See how much more bushy that is. Again, though, depends on when the timing of these, you know, photos. I mean, sometimes a cat could be, you know, the lost photo you might be looking at is the cat was taken 5 years ago, and the found one might be different. But I do notice that this one here is a young cat, and this one here is a young cat. So I think I may send a notice. I'm going to look at that one a little bit more in detail once we finish up, and I may end up sending that one off as well. Okay, so that's our searching for cat demo. And, you know, always remember they could be in that a tighter area. So it's usually a good idea when you're searching for cats to search in a smaller area. But when you're searching for dogs, you know, you quite often may have to make your range much larger. And I want to close off our demonstration today just to show you the power. You know, we do have people that are searching for their pets for, you know, sometimes years. And that's truly heartbreaking because we do have a better way of helping people to find their pets. And, you know, Helping Lost Pets is very thrilled to partner with so many volunteer groups across the country, like Lost Dogs of America and many other groups in particular areas. And that's what makes the difference. They use our website. They help to get the listings in. They give people tips. So some of the groups have caseworkers and really work with the people. They feel like they're having that tremendous support. But as matchmakers, you're adding now to this whole community of people that are helping others to get their pets back home. And so if my dog was missing, let's say my black lab was missing, and I wanted to search the entire country for black labs, that have been found, I could simply put in the color black. I don't need to look at small dogs. I don't need to look at seniors. But the moment I put in the breed, and I'm just going to put lab in for the heck of it, as long as I have part of the word, you'll see how powerful this can be, because I'm looking now at every single found dog that's black that has the word lab as part of their breed. And I'm also seeing mixes too. So here's a Labrador Retriever mix. We always show mixes at the time because we don't know what percentage of mix it is. But you can see how quickly someone could scan through every single listing in the country. If their dog was found anywhere, they could find them. Now, of course, you wouldn't really need to go that large. If my black lab was missing in Minnesota, I could probably look at the states around there and get a really good handle. And there you go. So thank you everyone for attending. This has been HeLP Matchmakers Introduction Training, and I appreciate that you all were able to join us today. And, let's get more pets back home, because remember, missing pets don't need a new home. They just need to get back home.